Hello again. This is Gonzalez with the Elements of Environmental Management portion of the class project. My topic, once again, is the protection of the endangered species, Madla cave meshweaver. A quick review: it lives in 8 specific caves in Bexar County, which is in South Central Texas, and it encompasses the city of San Antonio. So when talking about the different elements of environmental management system, it's important that we cover engaging the relevant stakeholders in the decision making, identifying a specific problem to be addressed, specifying objectives and trade-offs that capture the value of stakeholders, identifying the range of decision alternatives, specifying assumptions about resource structures, projecting the consequence of alternative actions, identifying key uncertainties, measuring risk tolerance for potential consequences of decisions, accounting for future impacts of present decisions, and accounting for legal guidelines and constraints. So in this case, there are 8 different caves, and those are on many different, underneath many different properties. There's one of them that is run by Texas State Parks. Some of them are under private property owners, businesses, corporations own other portions. And then another big stakeholder is going to be the county and the city, as well as the Edwards Aquifer Authority, which helps regulate water quality. The overreaching goal is to protect the Madla cave meshweaver by preserving its habitat, which is the 8 Bexar County karst caves that they live in. It's important to preserve the environment that they live in because it's basically the reason that they are on the endangered species list is loss of habitat. So the land above the caves is just as important to preserving their habitat as the actual cave itself. So objectives that'll help preserve the habitat of the cave meshweaver is watershed management, right? And the main purpose of that is that we want to prevent the caves from flooding. Identifying destructive developments. Of course, there's quarries, there's different mines in the area. And then just construction developments have to be aware of where they're building because they don't want to fill in any of the caves, which would prevent water and food source from getting in. Also to be concerned with is non-native ant species that compete for food with the spiders. Some specific decisions that can be made by landowners could be conservation easement or registry agreements. These are options for private landowners to allow the government or different organizations to basically implement a strategy for them to preserve that habitat. Water levels need to be monitored with the purpose of avoiding flooding of the caves because obviously that will destroy the population. Preservation of plants, wildlife, above cave openings, that's probably the most important during the research of this project. It will help most with preserving the habitat of the cave. And then again, decision needs to be made on how to remove the invasive crazy ant or tawny ant, and then decisions on whether or not to gate the entrances to many of these caves. So while researching this information on this slide is directly from the Bexar County Karst Invertebrates Recovery Plan. So the recovery plan basically states that the best way to maintain and preserve the different species living in the caves is to preserve the environment around the cave. So that also has to be a goal of this plan is to maintain the environment as it currently is outside of the caves. Some of the uncertainties to consider when developing the management plan are listed right here. One of the things is it's very difficult to get population samples or completely understand the population sample because the animals are subterranean. They're hard to observe, being that they're small insects. Water quality and quantity. Again, that's so the water that moves through the area is fast flowing, and the area is also prone to flash floods. In South Central Texas, all the way from San Antonio to Houston, especially recently, has been in the news. A flood like that is something that could basically destroy the species in a matter of hours. And then the last thing is that the long-term effects on the individual species on the karst ecology are unknown. No one really knows what will happen to the water filtration system if the spiders and other invertebrates in the area are extinct. So also referring to the karst Bexar County Invertebrates Recovery Plan, the karst ecosystem cannot be recreated, right? It was built through thousands and maybe millions of years of water flowing through this rock. So it is very intent on a conservative approach. Basically, we're going to put a large number of restrictions in place to preserve the habitat. So when you're talking about putting those higher restrictives, you have to weigh costs, right? So if we're protecting an environmental species, you got to understand in an urban area that some of these watersheds might be diverted to areas that are populated with people. Another thing that I mentioned was gating, right? And that's physically closing the entrance to caves, and that could lead to lack of substance material or food, basically, or even cause flooding. As opposed to preventing it. And then accounting for legal action, the Endangered Species Act, Section 4, Critical Habitat, and Section 9 were really relevant in helping me understand how species are protected and different requirements that different organizations can use. And then it's enforced by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And another thing that is important in the legal aspect is the city and county also, they don't impose restrictions, but they ensure forms are filled out and any building permits that are on or near the caves are referred to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for approval. And I also found it important that restrictions do not cover private landowners as long as they don't need any federal permit. And then I'm going to end with the different references that I use. Thank you.